What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Modern Warfare 3. And today's episode, we're going to be moving on to the AMR9. And starting it off as always, let's have a look at our damage profile. And generally speaking, this gun is going to be a 5 to 7 shot kill, although with leg shots, it could potentially take you up to 9 shots to kill at longer ranges. In saying that though, at least for that 5-shot kill in the maximum damage range, it's very forgiving. As long as you land 1 shot to the torso or arms, it will maintain a 5-shot kill potential, and honestly, it would be hard to hit 6 leg shots in a row without landing a torso shot. Additionally, if you manage to land 2 headshots mixed in with body shots up close, you can reduce that to a 4-shot kill. So just like with the WSP9, I would say headshots are moderately effective, but only in close quarters engagements. Beyond that maximum damage range, headshots are literally useless for you. Next, let's get into our rate of fire, which is pretty decent at 790 rounds per minute. And what this means for our time to kill potential is with a 5-shot kill, this is 304 milliseconds, which is definitely on the slower side for an SMG. Now, it's not so slow that it's completely uncompetitive and unusable, and you will still hold your own against a lot of the assault rifles. I just want to point out, it's not great by any means when it comes to time to kill. Next up, let's have a look at our range values, and as you can see here, our 5-shot kill range extends out to 16.5 meters, which is not bad for a maximum damage range for SMGs, and then its 6-shot kill potential will extend out to 38 meters, and anything beyond that is going to be at least a 7-shot kill. It's also worth noting we have an amazing bullet velocity for an SMG at 625 meters per second. This is the fastest in the SMG category by a noticeable margin. Then getting into hardcore game modes, we do get a 1-shot kill as long as we're hitting torso and arms in that maximum damage range, so from 0 to 16.5 meters. And then we can still maintain a 1-shot kill potential to the head out to 23 meters, but anything beyond that is always going to be a 2-shot kill, and also at any range, if you shoot them in the legs, it'll be a 2-shot kill. As for hipfire, it's basically just bang on average for SMGs here. Our minimum hipfire spread is 2 degrees per second, whereas our maximum when moving is 6.1 degrees per second. And now let's get into recoil, and this is finally an area where the AMR9 does excel for an SMG at least. As you can see here, it kicks basically straight upward. It doesn't really lean super hard either left or right. However, you will see a little bit of a zigzag as it kicks upward. And on top of that, it is worth noting the initial recoil is higher than when you continually fire the gun. So the first several shots that you fire will see a bit more of a vertical climb than the rest of the shots that you'll fire in a magazine. In general though, this is definitely one of the more accurate SMGs in the game, and that's one of the few upsides with the AMR9. Now let's get into our handling stats, and our aim down sight speed is quite slow for an SMG at 240 milliseconds. That's much more along the lines of what you'd see with an assault rifle. And unfortunately, it's got a terrible sprint to fire time for an SMG at 206 milliseconds for our standard sprint out time and around 300 milliseconds for our tactical sprint out time. Again, this is right around average for an assault rifle, and it's horrible for an SMG. So at least when it comes to handling, I really like to make sure I'm treating this like an assault rifle, not an SMG. In saying that though, at least there's one solid upside with handling, and that is our reload add time. This is just 1.33 seconds, which is very fast. And honestly, this is one of the reasons I tend to stay away from the bigger magazines on this. I'd rather not hurt my handling and mobility even more, and instead I like to use that attachment slot elsewhere. Now finally, for the base stats of the AMR9, let's have a look at our mobility stats, and for all of these areas, it's either the worst or at least tied for the worst within the SMG category. And most of these stats are more along the lines of what you'd see with an assault rifle, with the exception being the aim walking speed. While it is the slowest in the SMG category, it's still at least noticeably better than assault rifles in this game. So you can really see they're trying to position this gun as an SMG assault rifle hybrid. And that's going to wrap it up for all of the basic stats of this gun. I do want to point out we are expecting an aftermarket part coming at some point throughout Season 1, and apparently this is going to be a double barrel mod for the AMR9. And I was going to hold off and wait for that, but I didn't want to hold up the entire gun guide series, so once that does come out, I will be sure to make a video on that, and I'll try to leave a link to that in like a pinned comment or the description of the video once that is out. But now let's move into some excellent attachment combinations I've got for you guys, and the first one I want to share is my accuracy build. And with this, we're using the Purifier muzzle brake, the AMR9 Enforcer long barrel, the Mark III reflector optic, or use whatever optic you'd like, the Wolfhound carbine stock, and then finally the Sakin ZX grip. And with this particular build, our recoil is quite solid. There's a little bit of a horizontal zigzag. It's really hard to get rid of that entirely. But overall, this is a very accurate build for an SMG at least. One thing I will point out is you can technically get a more accurate build with the AMR9. However, what I found is in order to get that, you would be sacrificing so much to your aim down sight time that it just doesn't make for a very viable gun, at least for regular multiplayer. And with this build, our aim down sight speed is at least somewhat viable at 285 milliseconds. This is still extremely slow for an SMG, SMG, but if you're treating the handling as if it's an assault rifle, this isn't too bad. Additionally, our sprint out time is very slightly improved, but still very slow for an SMG. We do get an 11.5% boost to our damage range though, which is really nice, so that 5-shot kill potential especially is extended a bit more. And our bullet velocity is also improved up to just about 650 meters per second. So that's a perfectly viable build if you're trying to be really accurate with the AMR9 and not play super aggressively. Next, I wanted to share my balanced stealth build, and this is actually my preferred method of running the AMR9. And with this one, we're using the Tectonic Micro Integrated Suppressed Barrel, the DR6 hand stop, once again that Sakin ZX grip, the DAV-15 light tactical stock, and then finally, once again, that Mark III reflector. I'm just not a huge fan of the iron sights on this gun. And with this particular setup, it's still pretty accurate. It's definitely more accurate than the base version of the gun, which is nice. Our aim down sight speed is also much more along the lines of what you'd actually expect out of an SMG at 209 milliseconds. Our sprint out time is also noticeably improved, but still pretty slow for an SMG at 164 milliseconds. We do lose 10% to our damage range, but that's okay because we're generally going to try to keep ourselves up close and personal with this particular setup. And then of course, with that integrated suppressed barrel, this means we will be off the radar when we're firing our gun. And like I said, that's my preferred method of running the AMR9. However, I do want to share one last setup with you guys, and this one's much more niche. This is my pure aggression build with the AMR9. So this is mainly designed for those people that mainly just like playing on the small maps like Shipment or Meat, for instance. And with this, we are once again using that Tectonic Micro Integrated Suppressed Barrel, so we will be off the radar with this one. We also again have the DR6 hand stop, but this time we're using the X10 rear grip, the Demo D50 buffer tube, and the 1mW quick-fire laser. And with this, we can see that the recoil definitely gets worse than the base recoil of this gun. This is not designed to be taking gunfights at like mid to longer ranges. This is just designed for close range engagements. And this is supported nicely with a 170 millisecond aim down sight speed. This is actually quite fast even for an SMG, which is great. And then finally, our sprint out time with this setup is within the realm of what you would expect out of an SMG at 117 milliseconds for our standard sprint out time and a little bit over 200 milliseconds for our tactical sprint out time. And then to top all of this off, we've got a very solid aim walking speed at 3.8 meters per second, so you can strafe in gunfights really effectively with this. Now, like I said, in general, I'm probably not going to be using this setup on the regular maps in the game. It's just a little too niche for my liking. But if you like playing on those small maps, this is an excellent Shipment build, for instance. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the AMR9. As for my thoughts on this gun, honestly, not a big fan of it. I do think the downsides of having slow handling and mobility, as well as quite a slow time to kill for an SMG, they don't make up for the upsides, which are basically, it's a pretty accurate SMG, but not the most accurate SMG. And it also has a pretty solid damage range, but it's not like way out of the ordinary for SMGs or anything. I just think that if you are aiming to make this an SMG assault rifle hybrid and you give it those downsides to your handling and mobility, it should be seeing more upsides that make it perform a little more like an assault rifle when it comes to the positives, like a very noticeably better damage range than all of the other SMGs, or maybe a better headshot multiplier, for instance. Just something to give a solid reason to use this, because as it is right now, I don't really see much reason to use the AMR9 over almost any of the other SMGs in the game. Now, of course, that's just my opinion, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about the AMR9 in those comments down below. And also, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of the video. If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.